This is the Mystery of Moses, part 78. And we're going to take our text from Number 16, verse 34 to 50. In verse 34, the Bible revealed how mighty what happened was. Though it was strange, but at the same time, it was also scary. As soon as the ground opened up a mouth to swallow those people, other Israelites ran away. They were scared of being swallowed too. You know, they don't want the ground to swallow them. They thought they will also be implicated, so they ran. You see, God is not blind. That you have a close relative who is given to wickedness does not mean God will punish the two of you together. The ground didn't swallow everyone else, it only swallowed the offenders, and after that, the assignment was over. Everyone will reap the reward for their actions. You don't need to pray about it. It's a principle that stands sure as long as the earth remains. In verse 35, the Bible reveals how a fire from the Lord came to consume the 250 men that offered incense. God ensured that everyone that took part in the rebellious act against Moses were punished. If you choose to be part of an evil assignment, then you cannot escape the consequence of that action. You may be living close to a wicked person. That alone is not enough to attract you to an evil consequence. Where you are is not as important as who you have become. Who you are will determine the type of reward that your life will attract. The moment you become wicked through your consistency in evil deeds, then get ready to reap the fruit of who you have become. Harvesting what you have reaped, harvesting what you have reaped is not optional. According to the law of life, anyone that sows must reap. Reaping is a must. After the Israelites have seen what happened and the instruction of the Lord in verse 36 to 40. Now let's consider the reaction of the Israelites in verse 41. But on the morrow, all the congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron, saying, Ye have killed the people of the Lord. After the Lord have helped them by removing the rebellious ones, the Israelites didn't bother to ask for forgiveness or even thank God for destroying, or even thank God for not destroying them. All because they allowed the people to move them against Moses. But instead, they still choose to blame Moses again for killing the people of the Lord. So they called the evil ones the people of the Lord. So if those evil people are to the children of Israel, the people of the Lord, that would mean that Moses and Aaron, they are what? They are evil men. Can you see that? So there's something wrong with the vision of the Israelites. They can't see properly in the spirit. So they call good bad and they call bad good. After the Lord had helped them, okay, they called Moses and Aaron a murderer. They looked at the two of them and said, Ye have killed the people of the Lord. This will mean that to the Israelites, those rebellious people were the people of the Lord. To them, those act was not bad. It was the right thing to do. What an ignorant congregation. It is a frustrating thing leading people whose vista is defected. This is because to such people, the doings of God will not be marvelous. Such people will replace thanksgiving with blame shifting. They will be experts in shifting blames, but when it comes to giving thanks, they will suddenly become weak and feeble. When God saw the ingratitude of the people and how that they are shifting blames instead of giving thanks, he spoke out in verse 45. The Lord said, Get you up from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment. and they fell upon their faces. From here, we can see that God was willing to destroy the people. But Moses and Aaron kept on saving the people on the strength of their intercession. As a leader, anybody you cannot intercede for, you cannot lead. When Jesus, even Jesus prayed for those people he paid for. So Jesus paid for those people he he prayed for. He prayed for them before paying for them. Jesus prayed before dying. So it will mean that Jesus prayed for us before paying for us on the cross. He paid for us on the cross while he prayed for us through his intercessions. You cannot lead them if you cannot pray for them. God won't instruct you to lead those that your intercession scope will not reach. So if you want to lead your generation, then you must pray for your generation. Your intercession direction can determine your leadership position. Your intercession direction can determine your leadership position, direction, and influence. It will be impossible to be a good leader if you have not found the pathway of intercession. Immediately God made this statement, a strange plague started among the people. Moses had to instruct Aaron to make an atonement for their sin before the Lord, because if that is not done, they will all die. You can see that in verse 46 to 48. Moses decided to stay in the midst of the people while the plague was spreading around, because he knew that his presence in the midst of the people will make God slow down the process. If Moses had left the people, God would have destroyed all of them in a moment, just as he had earlier stated. Leadership is about the people, not you. It is more of them and less of you. If Moses had allowed God to kill all the Israelites, if Moses had allowed God to kill all the Israelites, then who will he lead? You are a leader because there are people to lead. The moment there is no longer people to lead, you are no longer qualified to be called a leader. A leader is not leading nothing. He or she is leading something. Moses was not scared. He stood among the people, both the dead and the living, and he kept on interceding for them until the plague was over. The Bible recorded that 14,700 people died of this plague. These people were different from those who died with Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. This is a fresh set of people that died based on their murmurings and their ingratitude. Moses was one of the best leaders the Israelites had ever had. Moses is one of the best leaders the Israelites could ever have. Though is their first leader, that's the first leader, but God deliberately made Moses their leader, because hardly can you find a leader doing what Moses is doing. They would have all died in his time because of their rebellious acts, but Moses interceded for them, and that kept them. May you not get to that point where you will begin to tempt God by choosing to be rebellious instead of being obedient. In the name of Jesus, may we not get to that point that will begin to test God and will begin to tempt God by being rebellious instead of being obedient. In the name of Jesus. This is the wisdom of God. Don't sell it.